points right if I tried that stunt.
I know, that's how I feel my back feels.
Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Buxton, May 15, 2024 Selectmen's Meeting. I'll call this meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next order of business is the approval of the prior meeting minutes for May 8th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent. Discussions held between the hours of 4 and 7, so I came in around 4. Was there anybody between 4? No, okay. At 4:30, we had a meeting with our HR Director, Hunter Cox, and our police chief was in, just discussing the issues that are happening on the Route 202 corridor, which kind of coincided with, at 5 p.m., Deb Soul came in to discuss some of the requirements or some of the suggestions that she's making for us to reach out to the DOT, to have a study done, and for the purpose of moving the speed limit sign, making the passing lane double line, noise ordinances, soil studies, things of that nature along that from the Salmon Falls Bridge up to the top of the hill there. And so she's requesting the select board. We've written a letter to the DOT. They've responded. And so she's wanting us to respond back to them. So that's what the conversation was about. At 5:30, we had a meeting with our CEO, Patty McKenna. She came in on our zoning ordinance right now currently with the abandoned roads that we have in our town. The current zoning ordinance is quite old, and she wanted to get permission to seek the attorney's opinion to make sure that everything is still accurate on this ordinance. There's a potential that somebody may be wanting to build somewhere in the town of Buxton on an abandoned road and wanted to know where we fall on that legally. And so we've given her permission to do that. At 6 o'clock, our treasurer, Bill Hall, came in. And so that was a lengthy conversation with Bill. One of the things that you'll see later on here is the state is requiring us to remove an ordinance that we have that they asked us to put in. We'll discuss that more later in new business. I'll read it out. But also with that, we're looking at getting our dams reassessed. Bill has done a fabulous job seeking people. That's a specialized trade. It's not like every assessor does dams, and so he's been researching for the last few weeks. He's found a couple companies. He's going to set up a video conference or some kind of voice conference with the board next week, potentially, to vet both companies to see which company we are going to kind of move forward with to reassess our dams. We had a discussion on Brookfield as well. And so that really took up a good hour. And so we got that, and that's why we're a little late. So moving on to review of correspondence, we had an email from MMA grant writing workshop, tech conference planning, and appeals board workshop, PFAST in Maine webinar, elected officials workshop. A letter from the Lake Steward of Maine, funding request. We had a magazine from the Maine Town and Cities, and we had a magazine from Maine Biz, and we had an email from the National League of Cities, Federal Advocacy Newsletter. Moving on to our next order of business, which is old business. Excuse me, I don't see projects and issues here.
And the email.
Oh, right at the bottom. So next order of business is projects and issues. Go ahead, Frank.
Not a real lot for me this week. I was in the office a little bit, but I had several appointments that I had to make in my personal life. I had doctor's appointments or things of that nature, so I wasn't around much this week.
Okay, thank you, Frank. David?
I talked to the CEO a little bit about some of the houses around town that the yards are really junky. Things like that. I talked to Kevin Kimball, our Public Works Director, about he's been trying to get all the ancient cemeteries cleaned up for next week.
Yes.
And he was telling me that he was going to be able to go down Pleasant Point next week and clean up that old cemetery, because we had a lot of trees fall that were too big for us to move. That's pretty much it.
Thank you. Chad?
Yeah, very similar to Dave. I spoke with the Public Works Director too in regards to the ancient cemeteries. He's done an awesome job about helping us clean up after that last storm. Also want to give thanks out to Ethan Bump, who's helped with some cemeteries, as well as our local Boy Scout troop, number 349, that's taken on one of them as a project. They did a great job cleaning up. Also spoke with a resident about Route 202 and traffic concerns, and that completes that.
Thank you, Chad. Yeah, so I had an interesting week this week. I'll give more details in the future, but we've been working on this settlement with Brookfield on the tax assessment of the dams. We finally tentatively reached an agreement. We've signed it tonight. I will give a full explanation later in the future once we get Brookfield's signature and it's set in stone. So it's just been a lot of work. It's easy to say things when you're on the other side of this. We should have done this. We should have done that. But I think that overall, it's been a pleasure to work with the board, and we worked really well together on this. This was not an easy decision for us. It was very complicated, and it could have gone many different ways. I think we ended up in a better position than we would have prior, so it was a big risk that we took, and I think we prevailed, hopefully. And again, this was only a battle. We're fighting a war against Brookfield. There will be more to come, for sure. But this first step here, I think we won that battle. And so I did speak with the attorney this week on that, and I will give a better explanation in the future once everything is settled. And so just want to, kudos to this board members all. I appreciate working with all of you and all the good work that we did with that. So thank you for that. I also spoke to the members. We are creating a group that is going to a public safety building. And the board has been decided by this board here, and the board members will be our fire chief, Nathan Schools, our police chief, Kevin Collins, Craig Lefevre from the planning board, Tom Peters from the select board, and Peter Pinkham will be the resident. 5 members will set their agenda and move forward in discussing what a public safety building should look like, the size, the scope, things of that nature. Now, I know there's another resident that has reached out to see why we need a public safety building, and been reached out to our department heads. And the truth of the matter is, can we operate with what we have? And the thing is that, yes, we'd have to fix things. Is that possible? Yes. At the end of the day, it's going to be the public's decision what they want to do. But, I think what's important to keep in mind why we feel that a public safety building is important is that it's a new work environment today. We used to put applications for police officers and EMS people, and you have a list to choose from. Now you're competing. You're competing against other towns to get people to come to your community and provide a service that we know we all need. We can't go without an ambulance. And so part of that is to understand is living quarters is going to be an important negotiation tool to have. When people can go to Scarborough and Saco, who have brand new facilities, and make more money per hour, it's going to be difficult, more and more difficult for the town of Buxton to hire people to come to our community. So I think that's an important piece of it. The second piece of it is, our structures were not designed to have live-in students or live-in personnel. We do it, we make it work, but we've got some issues coming forward here, leach bed being one of them at Groveville, sleeping quarters and things of that nature. So do we spend money to fix these? Yes, we can. I don't necessarily think that that's the best move. And having said that, when we consolidate all into one building, we have less buildings to take care of, less driveways to plow, all the maintenance that comes along with that. And I think lastly, the most important piece is that we built the Public Works building around $900,000 20 years ago. To build that building today, probably be $2-3 million, maybe more. And so the cost to build today is going to be less than the cost to build in the future. And so I think that's important. But lastly, what I want to mention, this week I sat with a woman who is the representative of Susan Collins, our senator here in the state. Susan Collins is the head of the Appropriations Committee in Congress. And I think that our biggest avenue here is to seek grant funding to build this structure for us. And the thing is, you don't go to Susan Collins and say, hey, we want to build a public safety building, can we get the money? No, you have to present something that is ready to go in order to get the grant funding. And so I think that we've done it here in the past where we've asked the town to approve a grant or approve a purchase with the opportunity of having a grant, and if the grant doesn't come through, then you don't buy it, like the fire truck that we just got. I think that if we set ourselves up here to have this building and have it prepared to go, and we have a Susan Collins who's at appropriations table in Congress in Washington, our opportunity to get a federal funded grant building is great. And so I think that's a direction that we should at least try to achieve. And I think that it's a doable thing as we have our senator that is in that position of holding the gavel. And I think that's an important factor that we can't look away from. And so, so these are all things that, you know, as a board, we're not making decisions. The ultimate decision comes amongst the people who live in this community. They will be the ultimate deciding factors. All we do is present information, give you the information, and folks can make the decision. And so as we look forward as well, you know, we have a large, being in Augusta, I've learned that, you know, I've served on the Housing Committee, and, you know, we have been pretty insulated from major growth in our community for housing. But if you look at Gorham and Standish and Saco, they have boomed. And our biggest saving grace is 5-acre minimums. That has stunted our growth here in this town. I foresee in the future the state coming in, just like they did in the ADU, which we were already doing, so it didn't affect us much, but I see the state coming in the future saying no more 5-acre minimums, you're going to do it on whatever, 1 acre or 2 acres, or whatever that may be. And so that is going to incorporate, let me go back, incorporate that with this new bypass that's potentially going to come in. I've already talked to Peter Mills, the head of the Maine Turnpike Authority, and his opinion is once that bypass does come in, we're in a position where we are going to see some type of growth, not just us, Hollis, Leamington, all these areas. So, having said all that, and with I think the changes within the land mass changes coming forward, I think that we have to predict the future a little bit and say, okay, how do we best poise the town of Buxton for success in the future? And whoever can kind of predict that the best will make our town more successful. And so I see these things coming. The board also agrees that, you know, a public safety building is probably a good direction for our community to go. Again, the community will have the last choice in it. But at the end of the day, we are going to turn over some rocks, see what it costs, see what it should look like, and then give the community something to kind of look at, see, and have an understanding of what it's going to cost taxpayers in our community to do so, and futuristic, does it make sense to do that? And so that's why we've set this committee together. That's how we're going to move forward. Again, they're going to have the floor to do as they wish, but those are the board members that will be on that committee. And so just want to put that out there for the community to understand. So moving forward to old business. Does anybody have any old business?
No.
Seeing none. New business. So there will be a public meeting on May 29th at 7 p.m. to address warrant Article 3, which will be voted on at an annual town meeting. The article deals with new state requirements involving the sale of town-owned properties. And so the public hearing notice, which will be posted, reads, to a constable for the town of Buxton in the county of York in the state of Maine. Greetings. In the name of the state of Maine, you are hereby requested to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town of Buxton qualified to vote in the town affairs to meet at the municipal building at a municipal complex at 185 Portland Road in the said Buxton on the 29th day of May, 2024. At the 7 p.m. In the evening to act on the following subjects. To address changes to be implemented by 2024-2025 warrant Article 3, which concerns the implementation of the state-required changes to the process of selling town-owned properties, the article reads as follows. Article 3, shall the town of Buxton repeal the ordinance named Town of Buxton Ordinance Regulating Tax-Acquired Properties enacted November the 5th, 2002, as amended June 10th, 2019. Due to the changes in the state statute, new wording to be considered in the later article. And so basically, what this is doing is that we have a zoning ordinances that is requiring us how to dispose of our town-acquired property. The zoning ordinance will now with this be removed, and what we will have is a yearly town article to be voted on at town meeting yearly to allow the select board to dispose of town-acquired properties. And with that, they're changing the way we are going to dispose of town-acquired properties. Currently, I don't know 100% all the changes, but I think we're going to have to now not put it up to bid, but get a realtor to sell it for us. We're going to have to do our best due diligence to find out who the heirs are to distribute the excess revenues above and beyond what the town has that the heirs owe for like back taxes or interest and things of that nature. We get our resources back, but whatever's left, we're going to have to distribute to the heirs. And if we, through our best efforts, have not found any of the heirs, then the money then will be returned to the state of Maine. And so that is what the new warrant article, which the warrant article will tell us what law we have to follow by disposing those tax-acquired properties. And so that's the gist of it, of where, why this public hearing is being held and what this is all about. So anybody else have any new business? Seeing none, moving on to executive orders. Executive Order 242-500-4034, in order to approve a countersignature of a warrant and notice of an elected college Maine School Administrative District Number 6 budget validation referendum.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent. Executive Order 242-500-4035, in order to approve a poll permit for Central Maine Power and Consolidated Communications of Northern New England Company, LLC, to construct and maintain a one pole on Rankin Road, being 1545 feet northeast of the Boyle Road, in accordance with the Central Maine Power.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 abstention. Excuse me, 1 absent. 4 with 1 absent on that last vote. Executive Order 242-500-4036, in order to approve changes to the Town of Buxton personnel policy in Article 2.2.5.5, or is that 2.2 or just 2? Yeah. Articles 2, 5, 6, 9, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18, 22, 27, 29.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent. Executive Order 242-500-4037, in order to approve a change in the schedule with registration hours for upcoming elections, June 11, 2024. The Register of Voters will be in session on the last 5 business days before Election Day. The hours shall be from 8:30 to 11:30 a.m. on 3 of these days, 11:30 to 4:30 p.m. on 1 of these days, and from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. on 1 of those 5 days.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That is 4, 1 absent. Executive Order 242-500-4038, in order to approve a pole permit for Proline Utilities Construction to construct and maintain one pole on Cousins Road in the town right-of-way.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent. No executive orders by initiative. Moving on to accounts payable and payroll warrant. Executive Order 242-500-4039, in order approving expenditures as documented in the accounts payable warrant number 92.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent. That amount is $90,608.32. Executive Order 242-500-4040, in order approving expenditures as documented in the payroll warrant number 91.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent, and that amount is $90,039.32. The next meeting of the board, the next selectmen's meeting will be held on Wednesday, May 15th, 2015. That is today. The next selectmen's meeting will be held on May 22nd of 2024. The next planning board meeting will be held on Monday, June 10th at 7 PM. Is that the next June 10th?
That seems a ways out.
Yeah,
That's a
because
wait.
of Memorial Day.
Memorial, okay. All right, so that is the next meetings. Is that their last, that would be their last meeting before elections?
Yep.
So that would be Keith Emery's last meeting. Is that correct?
That'd be correct.
Yep. So we just want to thank,
It'd be his last meeting, but he would be present for the town meeting, his final days until the end of town meeting.
right, no, I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that. But just wanted to take this moment to thank Keith Emery for his 30 years of service. I'm sure that we would like to appreciate him in some way, somewhere, somehow, but just wanted to tell him thank you now. But so, any other business?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have something I want to say. For those of you that don't know, on May 1st, we lost a great public servant and a veteran and a resident. Steve Townsend was a very good friend of mine, and he suddenly passed away on May 1st. Steve wore many hats in his short life. He was honorably discharged from the United States Army as a sergeant. He was a member of the Bar Mills Fire Department. I worked alongside him at many fires. And then he changed streams and he got into law enforcement. He started his law enforcement career with the York County Sheriff's Department of Corrections. And then he come back to Buxton and was a reserve patrol officer for the constable service. He went through the transition with us from constables to a police department. And then he moved on to Rangeley Police Department, Falmouth Police Department, and he found a home in Kennebunkport Police Department. So in remembrance of Steve Townsend, tomorrow is his funeral service. We're going to be flying the flag here at half-mast, and I just wanted everybody to know that. So, God bless you, Steve, and you will be greatly missed. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your condolences to him and his family. Anybody else? Seeing none at this point, I'll take public comments and questions.
Dave Harmon, Buxton, I'll second that, Frank. He was very well
Yes, he was.
known and appreciated.
Absolutely.
You said that you changed, or they got a thing there for personnel policy, a bunch of different, is it all the same change? It just hit all of those? And what was the,
So I don't have the changes in front of me, but do you have something we can, okay, look,
Hannah can speak to it. He's the HR director.
So the reason why there's so many is because we took out like excessive language in a lot of things, like stuff we didn't need in there. We clarified a bunch of things, so that's why there's so many. There's two material things that we changed. One of them is that instead of letting people carry over their vacation every year, we're just gonna pay them out their vacation if they have vacation left at the end of the year. And that way we keep staff at their jobs in town hall if they're not using their vacation. A lot of times, we're short-staffed in some of the departments, and so they don't use their vacation. And so they would carry it over into the next year. Well, that doesn't solve our short staff problem. And so we're paying them out at the end of the year instead of letting them carry that over. The other thing is we're coming to the end of our contract on our uniform suppliers over at Public Works. We feel that maybe we could be getting a better deal there. So in the interim, between the time it takes us to find a new contractor, or maybe we won't use a new contractor, we are gonna just supply them a certain amount of money every year to buy uniforms and boots and things because they go through them quite a bit because of the nature of their work. So those are the two big things that we changed. The rest of it was just little language tweaks and things like that. That's why there's so many.
thank you, Andrew.
Do you have anything else, David?
Well, seeing none, at this point, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent. Just want to thank everybody, and create this meeting here for Steve, who is remembered. So thank you everyone for watching, and see you next week.